Hello learners, welcome to Smart Class. Today we are going to the first chapter of your English Kaveri book, How I Taught My Grammar. As you can see, the story is written by Sudha Murty. Sudha Murty is an Indian writer, and this story is about a girl and her grandmother. So in this story, we find there's a girl who is about 12, means her age is about 12, and she used to stay in a village in the North Karnataka with her grandparents, as you can see. Then the transport system was not very good. So what happened? The weekly magazine. So this is a very important system in our India. Actually, find that the weekly magazine was a very famous one, right? And all of the people, they would wait for the magazine. Understand? Now Triveni. This part is important part. So Triveni was a very popular writer in Kannada language, and she was very famous for her writing style. So question can be asked part that her style was easy to read and very convincing style. And what was the matter of the stories? Her stories usually complex psychological problems in the lives of ordinary people, and they are very interesting. So here we find that the grandmother, she was very fond of the writings of Triveni. Now, one famous novel we find here, that is called Kasi Yatri. Okay, Kasi Yatri novel came as a serial in the Kannada weekly Karmabira. So Karmabira is the name of that magazine. And what is the story? So and the granddaughter, and inside there is another story that is of Kasi Yatri. So Kasi Yatri story, it basically tells about a young and an old lady and her ardent desire. Ardent means keen desire, very eager. Okay, she was very eager to go to Kasi Banar. But what happened? Because we know that in Hindu culture, Kasi is considered very sacred, and that is considered a punya. Okay, that is considered very. And this old lady also believed in the same, that she would go there. What happened? That there was a girl in the story. Which story? This story बताया जाता है ना, in this story. So this story is Kasi Yatri. So in this story there was also a young orphan girl who falls in love. अब उनको प्यार हो गया है orphan girl को. Now this old lady in the story Kasi Yatri, she has her money, her savings, without thinking, savings for the orphan girl. So what we find here, this is the happiness of this orphan girl is more important than worshipping Lord Viseswara at Kasi. So this is one part of the story. Now this story was very famous. Now we go to the next part. So here we find the grandmother is Kristaka. This is her name. She was illiterate. So here we can write she was illiterate and she was also uneducated. This is very important point of the story. Okay. So she was very famous. Triveni was a very famous writer, and the grandmother was a very ardent you can say reader, very eager reader of the story or of the serial, right? The magazine Kamabira. Now at that time she would forget all her work and listen with the great concentration. क्या सुनती थी वो जो story. Later she could repeat the entire text by heart. My grandmother too never went to Kasi, and she identified herself with the novel's protagonist. Protagonist means the main character. Protagonist means the main character of the story. Understand? So here we find that the grandmother in the story Kristaka, she used to identify herself because the lady, the old lady in the story Kasi Yatri was also an old woman, right? Now what happened? After this we find the next we come to the major part. So one time when the granddaughter had to go to a wedding, and ऐसे देखो लिखा गया है, once I went for a wedding with my cousins to the neighboring village. In those days a wedding was a great event. Of course अभी भी है, wedding is a great event. Then we children enjoyed ourselves thoroughly. So that time the granddaughter actually went there for a wedding, so she used to come. So actually the thing was that she must come within a few days, but actually it took for a week. It took a week. So एक हफ्ता वो उधर जाके रह गई. Then when she came back to her village, she saw that her grandmother was in tears. Why was she crying? What can be the reason? What do you think? What can be the reason? The reason was that She was not feeling well because she was illiterate, and the novel was already in her hand, right? The काशी यात्री. अब वो पढ़ नहीं सकती थी, तो नॉवेल हाथ में है, स्टोरी हाथ में है, बट सी कुड नॉट रीड. So that is the difficulty. So here we find the difficulty of reading. And why? Because of illiteracy. तो एक सवाल ये आ जाता है कि that she could ask anyone in the village, but no. Then she tells that she used to feel very ashamed actually, right? So then we find that Abha, who is this Abha? So Abha is now Abha is no one but the grandmother here. So Abha को वो पूछती है कि Abha, is everything all right? Then Abha said, Abha nodded. She nodded but did not reply. I didn't understand, forgot about it. In the night after dinner, we were sleeping in the open terrace. अब ये जो important point है story का. It was a summer night and there was a full moon. Abha came and sat next to me. Her affectionate hands touched my forehead. I realized she wanted to speak. What is the matter? Now the granddaughter is asking. Then she is telling her story. What is the story? When I was a young girl, I lost my mother. Who is this? The grandmother is saying now that when she was a young girl, she lost her mother. There was nobody to look after. तो ये जो family का problem हो जाती है ना, that kind of thing is referred here in the story. My father was a busy man and got married again. In those days, people never considered education essential for girls. So one point we find here is girls' education, right? That is one significant point in the story, girls' education or women empowerment, that we can also write here. Now one thing I want to tell you, इस story का जो question answers है ना from the book, that will be given in the description box. The description box पे जाके you can click on that link and you can easily get the question answers of the chapter. Okay. So I never went to school. I got married very young and had children. So she became very busy. So this is the reason that she remained uneducated and illiterate also. And that was the difficulty, that was the problem she was facing. So इसके बाद क्या होना चाहिए? इसके बाद the grandmother will now approach the granddaughter. 62-year-old grandmother was telling me a 12-year-old. So here we find the contrasting thing. That 62 year was the age of the grandmother and 12 years was the age of the granddaughter. So this was the age difference. Now what would happen in the story? अब इसके बाद the grandmother will approach the granddaughter that you can help me learning. You can help me learning the alphabet in Kannada language, right? So here we come to the next part. जो important part है हम वही पढ़ेंगे, ठीक है? So yes, I need your help. This is spoken by the grandmother. Yes, I need your help. You know, when you were away, Karma Vira came as usual. I opened the magazine, I saw the picture, and I could not understand anything that was written. So many times I rubbed my hands over the pages, wishing they could understand what was written. But क्या करे? That because she was uneducated, illiterate, so she could not understand anything. At that time, she was imagining that if only I was educated enough, I waited eagerly for you to return. अगर मैं educated हो जाती तो पढ़ पाती है. So that's why she was waiting for the granddaughter. अब grandmother granddaughter को बताएगी that you can only help me although we are well off. But what is the use of money when I cannot be independent? Yes, that is the major saying. एक major saying कहा जाता है कि education जो होता है, education is power, right? That is the thing. Another major point we find here, that is education is power. ये number 3 major point हो जाएगा हमारे story का. I did not know what to answer. Then I have decided. Now what is the decision? तो when the grandmother is telling that I have decided, तो ये decision making का जो skill है, from here we also get to learn another major theme of the story, that is determination, right? Determination that is present in the grandmother that we find here. So determination, I have decided I want to learn the Kannada alphabet from tomorrow onwards. I'll work very hard. And she also gives a deadline that I'll keep the Saraswati Puja day during the Shad as the deadline. That day I should be able to read a novel on my own. I want to be independent. This line is very important. I want to be independent. So how does independence come here? How does independence come here in the story? The independence comes through education. So independence through education, or you can right here, power through education. I saw the determination on her face, yet I laughed at her. Why? Why she's laughing? This you can say this, she's laughing because of her immaturity, right? So because she's only 12 years old, so she is laughing because of her immaturity. Then she's telling Ava that Ava, at this age of 62, you want to learn the alphabet. All your hair is grey, your hands are wrinkled, you wear spectacles, and you walk so much in the kitchen. But the grandmother tells that for a good cause, if you are determined, you can overcome any obstacle. This line is one very important line. I'll work harder than anybody, but I will do it. तो मेहनत करने वालों की कभी हार नहीं होती, right? For learning, there is no age bar. Yes, if you want to learn something, then there is no age bar, right? So after this, the tuition started. The next day onwards, I started my tuition. Ava was a wonderful student. Why? So the question can be asked, mention 2 or 3 qualities that can define the grandmother as a wonderful student. What is that? The amount of homework she did was amazing. So homework already वो complete कर ली थी, right? She would read, repeat, write and recite. So she was a very good student. I was the only teacher and she was my first student. Understand? So this is the relationship that you find in a family, that one person is teaching the other. But there's an age gap here. There's an age gap here in the story find. But actually it also makes another major point of the story, that is the role reversal. रोल रिवर्सल क्या होता है कि ग्रैंड मदर का जो रोल है और ग्रैंड डॉटर का जो रोल है वो उल्टा हो जाता है. बेसिकली नेचुरली अगर देखा जाए, सो इन आवर सोसाइटी वी फाइंड, इन आवर फैमिली आल्सो वी फाइंड दैट द एल्डर पीपल दे टीच द यंगर वंस, राइट? बट हियर वी फाइंड द यंगर वन इज टीचिंग द एल्डर वन. दैट इज द रोल रिवर्सल. क्वेश्चन बन सकता है यहाँ से, ठीक है? Then the Dasara festival came as usual. That was the deadline given, the Dasara festival. Secretly I bought Kasiya 3, which had been published as a novel by that time. तो सीरियल होके ये एक क्या होता है, बाद में जाकर नॉवल के तरह पब्लिश हो जाता है, राइट? My grandmother called me to the puja place and made me sit down on a stool. She gave me a gift of frock material. Then she did something unusual. Question बन सकता है, she did something unusual. What was the unusual thing? The unusual thing was that she bent down and touched my feet. Understand? So she bent down and touched my feet. So this is the respect for teachers. Here we find that you can say that the granddaughter was only 12 years old and the grandmother was 62 years old. तो उल्टा करना चाहिए ना, granddaughter को पैर छूना चाहिए grandmother की. But here actually the opposite thing is happening. And the natural response was that I was surprised and taken aback. पीछे आ गई. Why? Elders never touch the feet of youngsters. We have always touched the feet of God, elders and teachers. We consider that as a mark of respect. But here the tradition actually reversed. Why? The reverse had happened. Then the last part is very important and very emotional also. She said, I am touching the feet of a teacher, not my granddaughter. So here the person, the granddaughter is not a granddaughter here. She was the teacher of Abha, of Krishtaka, of the grandmother. A teacher who taught me so well with so much affection that I can read any novel conveniently in such a short period. Now I am independent. So how did independence come in her life? Independence came through education, of course. So major point, major themes you have to learn from any story. Story जैसे भी पढ़ लो, but one thing you have to learn, that is the major theme of the story. So basically for any story we will find 5 to 6 themes और question जो बनेगा वो 5 to 6 themes से ही बनेगा. Okay, so we will continue the another chapters also in our next video, but let us continue the last part of the story. So now I am independent. It is my duty to respect a teacher. And then I did return her namaskara to her by touching her feet and gave my gift to her, to my first student. She opened it, and what was the first gift? The first gift was, of course, the novel Kasiya 3 by Triveni and the publisher's name. I knew then that my student had passed with flying colors. That means this was very successful, or she was very successful. Why? Because the grandmother now learned the alphabet. There was no problem there. So basically the story, I hope you have understood, right? तो इस स्टोरी में ये बताया जाता है कि एजुकेशन कितना इंपॉर्टेंट होता है, whether it's for a boy or for a girl. And in this story you also find another important theme, that is women empowerment. Okay, and role reversal. the importance of teachers in our lives, and some qualities. अगर ऐसा क्वेश्चन आ जाए, the qualities of grandmother, तो क्या क्या लिखेंगे हम? एक तो डिटर्मिनेशन लिखेंगे, ऑनेस्टी लिखेंगे, हार्ड वर्क लिखेंगे, right? And she was very emotional, also very affectionate also. So these are some of the few points that we can note down, and these are very important points for your exam also. Now, as I told you that the question answers from this chapter will be available in the description box. From there you can click on the description box and get to learn the answers. So in the next video we'll be continuing the next chapter of this book. So what is your duty? Your duty is to subscribe this channel and share with your friends. Thank you. Have a nice day.